In the last session, we have covered the basic concepts with the clocks and what are the simplest questions which can be asked from this topic. So, let us move on to the other type of questions which can be expected from this topic in the exam. Before going to that, I need to tell an important point regarding the angle made between two hands in a clock. We know how to find out the angle between the two hands in the clock, namely minute hand and the hour hand. The maximum angle can be expected between these two hands is 180 degrees, not more than that. This is an important note to be noted. And moving on to the other concepts, we know the angle made between the two hands can be calculated by using formula theta equal to modulus of 11 by 2 m minus 30 h. So I want to tell the important points regarding these standard angles, that is 180, 90 degrees and 0 degrees. So let us see what are the important points related to these angles and how the questions can be asked regarding these angles. So if we take 180 degrees is the angle between the two hands made in the clock. 180 degrees appears once in every 1 hour, and for the remembrance I have written in the simplest way. For 1 hour 180 degrees appears 1 time, and for 12 hours 180 degrees appears 11 times, and for 24 hours 180 degrees appears 22 times. You can observe here that for 12 hours 180 degrees is missing for 1 time, for 24 hours 180 degrees is missing twice. I'll tell at what time these 180 degrees would be missing. Now moving on to the other angle, 90 degrees. 90 degrees can be observed in a clock twice for every 1 hour, and we can write in this way. For 1 hour 90 degrees appears twice, for 12 hours 90 degrees appears 22 times, for 24 hours 90 degrees appears 44 times. So here also we can see the 90 degrees is missing twice here. I'll tell at what time these 90 degrees is missing. And coming to 0 degrees, in a clock 0 degrees appears once for every 1 hour, similar to the 180 degree. And in the similar way as 180 degree, for 1 hour 0 degrees appears 1 time, for 12 hours 0 degrees appears 11 times, for 24 hours 0 degrees appears 22 times. Why I have highlighted these three angles means these are the very important angles in the view of questions expected in the exam, and 180 can be termed as a straight line, and 90 degrees as right angle, and 0 degrees as when the two hands are overlapped or crossed over each other, and when the two angles are on the straight line, two hands are on the straight line, and when the two hands are at right angle. In this type or in this manner the questions can be expected in the exam. So this is the reason why I highlighted 180 degrees and 90 degrees and 0 degrees. Now let us see when the, as we have seen important points regarding 0 degrees, 90 degrees and 180 degrees. As I mentioned, 0 degrees appears once for every 1 hour and it is missing once for every 12 hours, while 90 degrees appears twice for every 1 hour and it is missing twice for every 12 hours, while 180 degrees appears once for every hour and it is missing once for every 12 hours, and the missing time for 0 degrees would be between 11 to 1. This means that between 11 to 1 in the clock we cannot observe the angle between the hour hand and minute hand as 0 degrees. While coming to 90 degrees, as I mentioned, it is missing twice for every 12 hours, and the missing times are between 10 to 2 and 4 to 8. This means that between these two times we cannot observe the angle between the minute hand and hour hand as 90 degrees. In a similar way, for 180 degrees the missing time would be 5 and 7. In this way we can represent or the important points regarding 0 degrees, 90 degrees and 180 degrees, and we cannot expect the question directly asking that when the 0 degrees would be missing in a clock. So we can observe the given question is about 0 degrees by noting these words, that is coincide each other. The question would be like this, a certain time would be given and the question is asked in this way that when the two hands are coincide with each other. While coming to 90 degrees, the question would be like this, when the two hands are perpendicular to each other. While coming to 180 degrees, the question would be asked in this manner that when the two hands are exactly opposite to each other, which means 180 degrees a straight line. Now moving on to the other concept, and an important point to be noted is except 0 degrees and 180 degrees, any angle in the clock or any angle between the hour hand and minute hand can be appeared or expected twice for every 1 hour, while it is missing in the same way as 90 degrees twice for every 12 hours. And the other concept is reflection or mirror image concept. For a given actual time, the mirror image can be found by subtracting the given time from 11 hours and 60 minutes. For example, if a time is given as 4 hours and 30 minutes and it asks to find what would be the mirror image for the time shown in the clock for 4 hours and 30 minutes. The simple concept is we have to subtract the 4 hours and 30 minutes from 11 hours and 60 minutes and we can obtain the answer as 7 hours. As we have some of the important points regarding 0 degrees, 90 degrees and 180 degrees, let us see a few examples. At what time between 9 and 10 o'clock will be the hands together? I already told you the examiner directly do not mention the value of theta as 0 degrees or 90 degrees or 180 degrees. He will be asked in the words, that is when will be the hands would be together. Now he is not asking about the number of times would be the hands together, but he is asking at what time the hands would be together between a specified time, that is 9 to 10. So by using the formula theta equal to under modulus 11 by 2 m minus 30h, which is so familiar to us, we can do this problem by taking theta as 0. As he mentioned, the hands are together, that is there is no angle between the two hands, so the theta value is 0. And the question comes, as he mentioned, the 2 hours, that is 9 and 10, which would we want to take or which we want to substitute in the place of h. So you can take any of these two, but my suggestion is depending upon the options which he mentioned, you have to take the value of h so that it would be easy for you. And by substituting these values, you can get the value of m, and I skipped the calculation part, and the final answer is 49 1 by 11 past 9. As I mentioned, the options are related to 9 hours, so I took the value of h as 9 hours. Coming to the second question, at what time between 5:30 and 6 will be the hands at right angles? The same pattern you have to follow from the above problem, that is, but the only difference comes is in the above problem the question is when will be the hands together. Now when the hands are at right angles, so simply by substituting value theta and keeping h value as 6, you can get the answer as 43 7 by 11 past 5. In the similar way, the third question related to 180 degrees, that is when would be the hands are in straight line. The same pattern as above two problems, just by substituting value as 180 degrees in the place of theta and value of h as 7 hours, you can get 5 by 11 past 7. In this way the questions can be asked depending upon the values or depending upon the theta, and depending upon the values given in the options we have to choose either 9 or 10, here either 5:30 or 6, here either 7 or 8. Now moving on to the other concept, to find the gain time or lost time. Before going into gain time or lost time, let us see an important point that the hands of a clock coincide or overlap each other for every 65 511 minutes. So, by taking this 65 511 as a reference, let us define what is meant by a gain time, what is meant by a lost time. So, let us see what is a lost time. A lost time is nothing but if the time taken by the two hands to overlap or coincide each other is greater than 65 511 minutes, that is considered as a lost time. If the time taken by the two hands to overlap or coincide each other less than this 65 511 minutes, this can be taken as a gain time. Now, how we can say a time shown by a clock is a gain time or a lost time means using this formula, 65 511 into P into T into 60 minutes divided by P, where P represents the time taken to coincide the two hands which is given in the problem, where T represents the number of hours given in the problem. While solving a problem, you can clearly understand about this formula. Now let us see problems related to gain time or sorry guys, a small correction in the formula for finding a gain time or a lost time is, it is 65 511 minus P, the whole is multiplied with T into 60 divided by P, where P is the time taken to coincide the two hands which is given in the problem, and T is the number of hours given in the problem. By solving a question, you can better understand this formula. So the question goes like this: the two hands of a clock coincide after every 66 minutes, then how much time does the clock gains or losses for 24 hours or per day? So we have a formula to find a gain time or a lost time. In the question he asked whether the time is gaining or it is losses. So by using this formula, 65 511 minus P, the whole multiplied with T into P divided by P. As I mentioned, P represents the number of minutes given for the hands at which they coincide is 66 minutes, where T is 24 hours, that is the time given in the problem as I mentioned earlier, that is he given as per day. If it is for 12 hours, we take this T as 12 hours. By substituting P value and T value in the formula, we get the answer as 11109 divided by 121 minutes as loss. As I said earlier, if the two hands coincide greater than 65 511 minutes, then it is lost time. As he mentioned 66 minutes itself in the problems, obviously there is no chance for getting a gain time, so the answer would be lost time. So by this we complete clocks. I tried my level best to cover all the basic concepts. I never touched the problems in depth, so I think this video would be help you somewhat to gain the basic concepts. And let us meet again with the topic permutations and combinations. Bye bye.